Shalom and welcome. This week's Torah portion is Eikev from the book of Deuteronomy, Devarim. And it contains a number of different things. One of the interesting things that it contains is a statement based upon the people following all of God's laws that the people will be blessed by all the other nations. In some way, following the laws will make them feel, the other nations, feel that they should look up to and bless the Jewish people. But this kind of begs a question. And that question is, how is it that someone earns enough, whether it's respect or whatever, from another person, that that person will bless them in some way, speak goodly of them, or in some other way make good for them. And it's hard to think of examples of how this could be. Now, there was once a time when Reb Shneur Zalman of Lady was visiting a town and a fire broke out. And he asked to be taken to where the fire was. And when he got there, he leaned on his cane and stared at the fire. And the fire immediately went down and went out. Now there were some soldiers from a nearby barracks that were helping to try and put out this fire. And when they saw what had happened with this holy man, this Rebbe, they told their captain, the officer in charge, what they had seen, and he asked that this man be brought to the barracks. So they brought the Rebbe to the barracks, and the officer asked him to please sit down, and then he asked him a question. Tell me, are you perhaps the son or the grandson of the Baal Shem Tov? Well, I'm not his son or grandson in body, but I am his spiritual grandson. I am a disciple of his disciple. Well, in that case, I'm not surprised at what you did. He took out a book and he held it, kind of looked at it. Let me tell you a story about the Baal Shem Tov. My father was a general, and at one time he was stationed, quartered near the town of Mitzvahs. And he was very agitated because he had not received a letter from his wife in a very, very long time. Now his soldiers, seeing how upset and agitated he was, gave him some advice. Look, in this town, there is a holy man named the Baal Shem Tov, and he does wondrous things. Why don't you go and seek advice from him? Well, the officer, my father, thought this was a good idea, so he sent a request to the Baal Shem Tov for an interview. The Baal Shem Tov, however, refused. So my father sent a second request. And again, it was refused. Then my father sent a note saying that if he did not get an interview with the Baal Shem Tov, he would give an order that his soldiers be quartered in the homes of the Jews. Now, this was right before your Passover holiday. And these people would bring in their leavened bread and other things, and this would make it very, very difficult for the Jews to prepare for the Passover holiday. So given this threat to the Jews, the Baal Shem Tov granted him an interview. So my father took an assistant with him, his adjutant, and they went to the Baal Shem Tov. When they got there, they came into a room, and through an open door, they could see the Baal Shem Tov sitting at his desk reading a book that my father learned was the Zohar. Well, my father went up to a mirror that was on the wall, and he intended to comb his hair and, make himself more presentable for the Rebbe. And he was amazed when he looked at the mirror. He saw a road. This road was leading to a town. He stood there stupefied. He called his assistant to come and look at the mirror to see if he also saw the same thing. And the two of them stood there looking at this mirror, and they realized that the road was leading to a town. And as the image advanced toward the town, my father realized this was the town where his wife lived. And as they watched, the scene entered the town, and sure enough, they saw his house. And the scene went on and into the house, and they saw his wife sitting at her table, writing a letter. They looked a little more closely, and they could see the letter. And the letter was explaining that she had not written in a long time because she had given birth to a son, and they were both well. Well, my father got into to see the Baal Shem Tov, and he thanked him greatly from the bottom of his heart for this opportunity to see what was going on. And sure enough, a while later, he did receive this letter from his wife, and it was exactly as they had seen it in the mirror. And I stand before you the son that was born, that was mentioned in the letter. He looked at the book that was in his hands. And here, you can read the whole thing for yourself in my father's diary. Well, obviously, the officer's father felt very deeply that the Baal Shem Tov had done something remarkable for him, given that he was so anxious and upset about not having heard from his wife. We can realize ourselves that there are circumstances in which we become just as agitated and just as anxious when we have not heard from a loved one for a long time for no explicable reason. And when we do find out the reason, and it is something not only innocent, but as in this case, something wonderful, how relieved we are, and how grateful we are to the person that made it possible for us to find the truth of the matter. And if it can be that way with one individual, I suppose it can be that way with an entire people. That if you are good to others, others will be good to you and perhaps even sing your praises. Thank you, and shalom.